Welcome back to the channel, you guys. This is your girl, Wicked Raider, coming to you with a breakdown on a particular champion that I have been using quite a bit on my original account. So normally I try to stick to those players that I pulled on my free to play, but there are a lot of moments when I know that you guys, every account is going to be really, really unique. And so some people had mentioned this champion before. I mentioned her previously in a video where I was talking about being able to finally progress in Doom Tower beyond level 60 for the Nether Spider. And this is a particular champion that I have pulled, I have actually ascended, started working with in a couple of areas, and it is none other than this attack champion, Miss Kallia. Guys, Kallia, aesthetically looking, my girl has this nice little outfit going, of course. Her kit is really, really versatile. She has allowed me to progress in certain areas, extremely helpful in faction wars, but actually a champion that I see people talk about, but I had not seen a in-depth beginner kind of guide on her. So when you first pull Kallia, one of the biggest things that I try to do with most of my champions, especially my epics and legendaries that I'm going to work with and kind of keep on the account, I want to get them to that 4 or 5-star level as quickly as possible. Once I make it to the 5-star level, you then have a choice to make. Will this champion become one of those that is 6-star eligible? And for this champion, you probably can tell already, the answer is absolutely yes. So as always, let's take a look at the reviews. Some of these are pretty telling. Hers are most definitely telling. My girl is solid across the board. So anywhere from 4 to 4.8 is how she is ranked throughout the community. Now, as far as skills, this is a champion that does have HP burn. And the good thing is, with her being an attack-based champion, I was able to level up and to protect that skill and also place her on quite a few teams that have really been dynamic for that particular skill to encourage her and to allow us to increase our progress. So first skill, Superheated Hammer. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. Heals this champion by 20% of the damage inflicted when a tour is on the same team. Now, you guys know when I have those in tandem kind of skills, that's not really what I'm looking at or basing myself on, because I don't know about you, but 95% of the time I do not have that companion champion. And a tour is going to be one of those. No idea who that champion is, but have not pulled them so far. Now, the good thing is with HP burn being on that first skill, that debuff is always helpful. The amount of damage can be increased by an additional 20%, and you can increase the buff debuff chance by 10% as well. Now, Curse of Nullity. This is when it starts getting really good. So you start with HP burn and you follow up with this second skill. Attacks all enemies. Has a 75% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. Again, heals his champion by 10% of damage inflicted when a tour is on the same team. So the biggest thing is a tour is helping her to heal herself and to keep herself alive. Now, this skill can be placed on a 3-turn cooldown. The amount of damage that is inflicted can be increased by 10%. And if you take a look here, I can add an additional 25% chance of that buff debuff. So I can bring this to a 100% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. You can't miss that, especially on a 3-turn cooldown. Flame Tempest attacks 3 times at random. Guys, this attack can definitely lay down some damage. Each hit places an HP burn debuff for 2 turns. Of course, here we go. Heals this champion by 15% of the damage inflicted when a tour is on the same team. The amount of damage can be increased by an additional 20%, and this can be placed on a 4-turn cooldown. Her aura will increase ally attack in all battles by 25%. When I am running Kalia, for example, through dungeons, placing her on a team, even with a champion like Ornn, I think right now I love to keep her on a team, even with Rosgard the Tower is another area where I've definitely used her. And I mean, guys, this is running this champion in basic gear. Absolutely basic gear. I have not gone through, I have not used my other sets. So as everyone knows, when you're running through campaign, for example, and you're going to be pulling your life set, your offense set, there are so many people that do not use or touch these top couple of sets. Like these are the ones you're going to get because I am just running my food champions through. But I'll be honest, some of the gear that I pull from campaign has been quite helpful. And there are a couple of pieces that I have brought up to the 16th level for that reason. It's also the gear that I will strip off of my champions and place on other champions, especially if I'm only using them in niche areas. If I'm only using you in faction wars, and I know once I make it to a certain point, you're going to become food. So I'm going to strip that gear off and replace it. Then I'll use these pieces as well. So I have seen her where some early accounts will even run her in lifesteal. They're not running her accompanied with a tour on the team. You may have other champions where you may luck up and Kallia is one of your first epic champions that you actually pull, which could even be a better one. I've seen some people that she was like the third or fourth epic they pulled. And so their best gear going in was either lifesteal gear or maybe a couple of pieces of relentless gear. So whatever you have that you consider to be your best gear at the moment, at the time, I've even thought about looking at and placing her in certain situations in savage gear. You guys know that gearing and artifacts for my champions is one of my weakest areas, but it's one of the things I've just been running a lot of battles because there are other, I need to bring my lower champions up so that I can start 6-starring some champions I've been working on for quite a while. And that's where all of this curing gear comes from. It's running the last stage, that 12-6, 12-7 brutal, because that way I can get the best bang for my little buck, run my champions and go through quite a few of them, maximizing the usage of multi-battles. So whatever set you are running her in, Kalia can definitely get the job done. Now, let's say, for example, you're on 12-7, you are in campaign, and I haven't run a comparison with her. And so why not? So we're going to go ahead and go in and do this the first time. I know that Ornn can run this pretty quickly, and I will sometimes use him. I don't use Kallia very often, but I actually compare the amount of damage both of these guys will give me here. So, and I could switch them. Why not? Just so we don't have the message. Now, with team building, of course, this will not be my perfect setup, but I've been running food champions probably the past couple of days because I know there are 4 champions in particular on this account. I certainly want to 6-star. And that first attack can be everything. There are a lot of areas in the game. If I'm running Ice Golem, for example, I've even used her with Dragon and have been able to make progression there, where that first and second skill have been immensely helpful in allowing my weaker team members, my 5-star champions, to actually make it to that third round. And that way we're able to be pretty successful. The run time isn't going to be too bad. It'll be a little bit longer than the 39 seconds, of course, but I'm thinking she's probably going to do this in less than a minute. And these 2 champions together, of course, should do just fine. So looking at the amount of damage put out, boom, 141 compared to Ornn's 113 on this one. They're going to carry my 2 guys in the middle anyway because they're not even, I know I'm going to keep Magister. We'll talk about Magister later. I kind of like him, guys. I'll be honest. I do. But the numbers are pretty good. I will give it that. Now, let's say I go back and I run her alone. I don't use her to solo this particular area. I just never have. I don't think I have her geared out for that, honestly. I would add a little bit more speed. I would put a little, maybe retaliation gear on her would be pretty good, but I want to see, yeah, she'll die here. No, she'll die second round. We'll take it a second round, girl. Just get your thing. But just being able to see her, sometimes I will run champions like this, especially if I haven't geared them all the way out, to kind of see how they do. So she can pop out 90,000 in comparison to a champion, for example, like Orn, who I have kind of worked with a little bit more. If you take your strongest champion, whatever champion you have invested your top tier gear in for your particular account, and you want to do a comparison of where your other, new pools are in comparison, run them solo and just kind of see how they do. And then you can go back, look at what gear is available, what stats you want to improve, and then improve it from there. I know with Kalia, I'm working on her masteries. That's going to be a big push. It's something that sometimes we easily forget about is it makes a difference to have a fully mastered champion, guys. Don't sleep on that part. So going into Minotaur's Labyrinth is going to be worth the bang for your buck. If you're free to play accounts, you're only doing or receiving the 40 multi battles each day for your refresh. I highly recommend at least investing half of those every single day in mastering your first team of champions. It can be more than worth it. You will end up with 4 champions that are able to go through into solos, so many other areas. The difference with him being fully mastered, I believe he's fully mastered or pretty close, but he's much more advanced than Kallia's setup is. And you can see by the damage he's able to carry out. And of course, he can solo this level alone. Now, I know that I'm going to go in and re-gear her during the next event, but I wait, especially with 5 and 6-star gear removal. I always wait for those moments where it is free to do so, unless I just absolutely have to have a champion. For masteries, I've kind of started on this champion, but I know I'm going to move these around probably a little bit. But with progression, with time, this champion has made a huge, huge difference. So my question to you, how are you using this particular champion? How has the ability to incorporate HP burn for this champion been helpful for you? Even when I've had a couple of teams lately, and you guys know my classic arena will come and go, come and go. I've had a couple of moments where she's actually on my classic arena team currently. And so I've gone up against a few teams that have had dupes of her as well. And it gets pretty interesting, especially when you have 2 6-star Kallias on an opposing team and they are tossing out HP burns left and right. So being able to mitigate that turn meter and to have some kind of control, and always arena comes down to the game of speed. So that's where we're going to be when it comes to that one. We've dropped all the way back down to silver 1. But she's going to toss in and do her part. Of course, compared to the amount that other teams are pushing out, the goal is to be quick. So speed is still king when it comes to arena. But this particular champion, guys, definitely would recommend if you manage to go into Altar of Souls and you can add to the champion, feel free to do so. I personally believe that Kalia has been more than worth the bill. One of those champions I've been more than excited to have access to. Kits is extremely, extremely well built. I will certainly fully master and ascend this particular champion and do as much as I can, because I think in-game wise, mid-game, especially, she's going to be great, great for progression. When you think about it, my question to you is always the same. How are you guys using this particular champion? What part of her skill kit has been most beneficial to your account? And when I'm ready to rebuild this champion, what gear do you guys recommend? Would love to hear that one. I'm working on these other pieces because, we're always getting the same pieces over and over, especially for my barbarians. But if I want to switch up the kit for Kalia, please, in the comments, guys, leave me some recommendations. Kind of let me know your train of thoughts. And we'll kind of do a video on stripping this particular champion and rebuilding her. I would love to do a couple of videos like that. I know at this point I have enough 6-star champions that I definitely want to start reworking many of those before I decide who will be the next 6-star, and of course, who will eventually become food. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe, go ahead and click that button for me. We are still looking for a few more members in the clan, so 22WK is how you can definitely find us in preparation for the next CBC. Good conversation, good progression is always nice, but hope you have a great day. And as always, happy gaming.